An enhanced severe weather threat is shaping up across most of the lower peninsula of Michigan for June 11th today. That's Thursday, June 11th, 2026. In the later evening hours, and as you can see, we have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather for most of the lower peninsula, with a 2 out of 5 slight risk covering all of it, with the UP remaining relatively untouched by this system. Hail is not a major threat for this system. We don't even have a chance of significant hail, so I wouldn't worry too much about that, but it always doesn't hurt to bring your car in. It's definitely wind. Wind is going to be a big threat for this storm. As you can see, we have a 30 to 45% chance of significant winds, meaning we could be seeing up to 75-mile-an-hour gusts. So it could take out some trees, could knock out some power. And obviously, it's even worse down in Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin. Big time severe risk for the Midwest tonight. And then tornado risk is actually one of the major ones for tonight, with 5 to 9% chance of a significant tornado for most of the lower peninsula, meaning EF2 or higher is a possible scenario. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it is possible. So let's look at the models now. This is the HRRR. It's usually the most reliable model, but interestingly enough, it disagreeing with pretty much every single other model. So I am very intrigued by what it's doing here, but I'm going to show you it anyway, just so you can get a good idea. We get a couple rain showers right before the storm moves in, and it looks like we have a brand new run here actually. Okay, I haven't even seen this before. Oops, but that's okay. If we take a look here at the sounding, I'll explain this to you. There's no longer capping inversion, so the cape isn't very high. There's actually only around 1,000 cape, which is very interesting. And there's a very slight capping inversion, which means uh, like warm air is kind of keeping that fuel from rising into the storms. Um, but there is a marginal tornado possible hazard type, and as you can tell, there is a huge amount of storm relative helicity, and I can show you even more of that soon. But it looks like it takes shape pretty well. About half of the lower peninsula, the bottom half looks like it'll be the strongest. Right now, it's kind of making the northern half seem a little bit less intense, and a lot of other models are not doing that, which is interesting. But you can just see here, this it looks like a very strong line, likely a shelf cloud with this system. I mean, you could probably assume that, uh, but that's not guaranteed. If we look at storm relative helicity, it's very high, especially in the south. We're getting up to 500 storm relative helicity, but for most of the area that's going to be affected, we're seeing easily 3 to 500, which means spin in the air that gives the atmosphere rotation for tornadoes, essentially, to put it simply. And there's also a lot of shear, lots of opportunity for these storms to get good structure. And I can see why it says that's not going to be as strong in the north, because the north does not seem to support that nearly as much. If we look at the significant tornado parameter, it does peak up there in the south, especially up all the way up to 6 in the southwest corner. I know this is literally just one county here, but it is definitely something to look out for. I would say the southern part of Michigan has to worry probably the most for an EF2 plus tornado. The rest of Michigan, probably some weaker tornadoes would be the most likely scenario if there were to be a tornado. But let me show you a different model. This one right here. This is kind of disagreeing with HRRR. Here's our storm coming in. It shows strength all the way out through the lower peninsula, all the way up, even maybe even stronger in the north, especially with this bow here. We could see some rotation, some tornadoes in the northern part of Michigan. So it's interesting how this model says this. And if we look at the sounding here, we could see a huge, huge arch on the red line, which means even more storm relative helicity, and also no cap really. So up to 2,000 cape, which is more than enough for a severe thunderstorm, and it gives, excuse me, the possible hazard type as tornado. So some models are disagreeing. If we look at all of the models, we can see a different, or a comparison of each one. They all show, a similar bow echo structure, with the RRFSA kind of looking the scariest. If we go take a look at that, it's looking pretty. It always looks darker and scarier with RFSA. It just kind of does that, but you can see it goes much higher up into the lower peninsula. And so currently the models are a bit in contradiction, but it is pretty easy to learn what's going to happen just based off of like looking out in your news, you know, because once the models kind of get themselves together, weathermen are going to be covering it. We can see a big arch here again, very high storm relativity, all the way up to 500. And large amount of cape. So definitely a tornado or two is possible in Michigan, I would say at least, maybe more. We'll see how the night plays out. But overall, I would say it's looking like a windbag event that's going to be coming in. I'll give you exact timeline. This is 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10. We'll go over here. 11, 12, 1, 2. So it's going to be overnight for most of the eastern part of the Lower Peninsula, and the western, you might actually, like the shore will probably be seeing it before the sun goes down. Even parts of West Michigan will be seeing it probably before the sun goes down, which is better always for severe weather because it makes, it keeps people from waking up to a tornado warning on their phones. But definitely keep weather aware for this system. It's definitely one of our strongest of the year, I would say. I'll be keeping a close eye on it. I'll probably go maybe even storm chase it, hopefully. But tornado warnings are possible, and power outages even. But we'll see how the models play out. If they change a lot, oh heck, I'll make another video today. But right now that seems pretty clear what's gonna happen. Nice strong line of severe thunderstorms. So maybe not nice, but yeah, I'll keep you guys updated.